is currently a student here at Emory also. So I think highly of Emory, otherwise I wouldn't have sent my own kids here. And you'll never encounter my daughter, but she's a theater studies major. That's still permissible to exist.
We've talked about the dark side.
Yeah, the dark
business
side.
and they're the dark side. It's okay.
But for many years I taught in the neuroscience and behavioral biology major, which is interdepartmental, and I did a core course there. I must have taught that course for 20 years, and then I suddenly discovered that I wanted to do something different. So 4 years ago I switched to intro bio, and I like it. Most of my students in intro bio are first-year students, and first-year students, believe it or not, are quite different from the other years. Because there is a period of adjustment that you'll all go through. I don't care how many courses you had as a high school student, or there is a period of adjustment and all that. So it's proved very interesting to me, and I've really enjoyed it a lot. The first thing I want to do is ask you how many of you have had an advanced high school course in biology? All right. How many have had any high school biology? All right. So there is in this room the typical diversity that I find in intro biology in terms of backgrounds. There are a lot of different backgrounds coming in terms of the kinds of science courses that the students have taken as high school students. And that goes for probably for your chemistry background, and also for your math background. So I'd like to say a few introductory remarks because they might be important to you later, which is, probably you've been already told this, that if you want to be successful in introductory biology, you have to be able to handle chemistry. So if you are not simultaneously taking chemistry and biology, or don't have a good high school background in chemistry, it's advisable that if you're only going to take one science course as a first-year student, that it be chemistry, not biology. Okay, because it really will depend heavily on chemistry. So it's just an important thing to keep in mind. There are many of our students who take both Chem 141 and Bio 141 at the same time. There are many of our students who just take one of them. And we recommend in the biology department that if you're only taking one of them, that it be chemistry. And that you delay your intro bio to your second year. We have a number of second year students in intro bio. So does that make sense to you, or is it? And today I'm going to give you a lecture that's in the middle of my course. It's not the beginning lecture of your course, it's in the middle. So it's going to show you where you're going to have to be in the middle of the semester. And the other thing that's different about the lecture I'm going to give you today is that one of the things we're trying to accomplish here at Emory is to bring more quantitative reasoning into all the science classes that we teach here at Emory. And so today's lecture is going to emphasize quantitative reasoning. So it's going to be a little bit difficult and a little bit different for you maybe, but I hope you'll play along with me, try to answer some of the questions that are put up, and stop me at any time when you don't understand something. So this is kind of a joke title, Determining Genotype from Phenotype. That's what we're going to do today. And the subtext is that if you can do that, you can be a good gambler. And Mendel would have been a good gambler because he understood the laws of probability as they pertain to genetics. Okay? So here's the outline. We're not going to be able to get to the 2 gene crosses, but we're going to do simple Mendelian genetics, how things that are determined by a single gene are transmitted from one generation to another. And then we're going to figure out how you can determine genotype from phenotype with test crosses. Can anyone tell me what genotype is?
The actual genetic makeup.
The actual genetic makeup. So you have that you have. And can anyone tell me what phenotype is?
The physical manifestation of that cause.
That's correct. All right. So we have some, and then we have some basic background understanding that you need. Pedigrees are family histories that track phenotypes. Okay? They track phenotypes. Like, I can track the phenotype of blue eyes in my family. You notice my eyes are brown, right? And I have 2 children with blue eyes and 1 child with brown eyes. My wife has blue eyes. So we could track the phenotype of eye color in my family. And from that, we might be able to infer the genotype. We might, or we might not. Depends on what you do. And then we're going to talk about how different types of genes are inherited in pedigrees. All right, so here's an illustration of the difference between genotype and phenotype. You're a genetic counselor. A newly married couple writes to you because they want to have children. And the woman has a disease called PKU. Has anyone ever read the warning on a Diet Coke can that says phenylketonureacs, don't drink this stuff? If you just pick up a Diet Coke can, it'll say that. And that's PKU, phenylketonuria. It's a disease where you can't metabolize the amino acid phenylalanine. And aspartame is a small peptide that contains the amino acid phenylalanine. And so therefore, you're not supposed to drink it if you have PKU. So you can look that up. I'll show you a picture. So, and if you are exposed as a child to phenylalanine, then you develop severe dementia. Okay? So it's not a pretty disease. And so her PKU was detected at birth, and she thrived on a special diet. She was not fed any phenylalanine. That she stopped in adulthood. You have to inform her about the genetic causes of this disease and the relationship of genotype to phenotype. You also have to advise her and her husband about the risk of passing on this disease and the effect of her disease on her unborn child. So what are the probabilities that she will pass this trait on to her children? That's what she wants to know, right? She comes in, she tells you, she asks you this, you know. It's not like blue eyes and brown eyes, what is the probability of going to pass on blue eyes or brown eyes? Well, that's an important question maybe, but it's not a life or death one, right? So this is more of a life or death type question. So here's the Diet Coke thing. Phenylketonureacs contains phenylalanine, all right? So, and here's an example of the woman here. She's photographed on her wedding day. Here's her sister, who was born 2 years earlier than her. Her parents were unaware that she might have PKU, and so she was served a normal diet of breast milk and formula. And as a result, she is demented for the rest of her life. But once they diagnosed this, then they were very acutely aware of it. And so the next child that was born, they immediately tested for PKU, put her on a special diet. And there she looks today. She's fine. But she has this genetic defect. So does that scare everybody? I think it's very interesting. I think it's, and it shows you the importance of genetic counseling and of genetic tests and what we're doing here. So what happens here is that there is a amino acid called phenylalanine. The phenylalanine is in all of our proteins. It's an essential amino acid of all our proteins. So it's not like you can live without this stuff. You can't live with it, but you can't live with too much if you're a phenylketonuria addict. But you have to have some, otherwise you're in trouble. But if you have too much of it, in a normal person, it's broken down and metabolized. And there are a series of enzymes that are involved in this breakdown. All right? And those enzymes are essential for the breakdown. And it's this enzyme right here that is defective in people who have PKU. So it is not a functional enzyme. And there are a number of mutations in the gene that give rise to that enzyme being non-functional. Okay? And so that's what causes PKU. All right, so now we have to think about what happens to produce gametes in reproduction. Because we're interested in how this mutation can be transmitted from generation to generation. And how is genetic information passed from generation to generation? It's passed through the gametes, right? So females make eggs and males make sperm. The eggs and sperm get together, they produce a zygote. So you get essentially half of your genetic complement from your mother and half of your genetic complement from your father. Now that's not quite true. If you're a male, you got this little piece of crap instead of a second X chromosome. It makes you sort of, not so great, but we can get by with it. I mean, but to a first approximation, it's true. You get half from each. And certainly the females, that's true. So let's consider a mythical organism that has only one type of chromosome. How many types of chromosomes do we have? Does anyone know?
26.
How many?
30.
23. We have 23 different kinds of chromosomes. We get 23 chromosomes from our mother, 23 chromosomes from our father. We have 46 chromosomes in 23 homologous pairs. Okay? That's what they're called, homologous pairs. One from your father, one from your mother. The X chromosome, of course, in females, you get one from your father, one from your mother, but in males, you get X from your mother and Y from your father. Okay, so in this mythical organism, there's only one pair of homologous chromosomes, right? There are such organisms, they're very simple. So before the production of gametes, each chromosome duplicates.